Whew. All right, all right. I think I convinced myself that this would be easier each time and just as difficult, just as hard to go out on stage. If anyone is actually watching, I'm trying something new. I'm using Restream as the streaming kind of hub. So I don't know if anyone is watching yet. This is going out on Instagram at thinair, Thinayr. That's my Instagram handle. And then on YouTube on the Uncomplication channel. So if someone is watching and you're able to chat, leave a chat. I want to see if it actually comes up in this new tool that I'm trying to use to make my life easier. Last time I just sort of went for it and everything worked out, and I think this time I might have to do the same. I have such little information on the screen in front of me about what's actually going on, which is a little discouraging. Stand by real quick. We'll work out the kinks here, you and me together. I think if I actually go to the channel. Oh, okay. Mr. Devil says, hey, so it looks like it's working. Works for Wayo. All right. Well, that's all I needed. I just needed that little confirmation that I was getting out to the world with my message of radical artistic freedom. Welcome. This is my second live stream now on YouTube. A couple days ago, I started the first portion of this painting. And I got to share a lot about what I've been up to and this artistic journey that has been unfolding, how incredibly rewarding it has been. And my formula here, if there is one, is I'm going to make art. I'm going to talk a little bit about the art I'm making, but mostly I'm going to be seeing what you guys have to say in the chat, as well as just sharing things that are super relevant, super important to me. I feel like I am not alone in that the current state of affairs, the state of the world, the state of my being is not always stable. I feel personally that a couple years ago, let's just say 5 years ago, I had these blinders on. I was so sure about where I was going, what I was doing, who I was, that when that train went off the rails, I was really confused. I was very angry. I was incredibly sad. And it's taken 2.5, almost 3 years to get to the point where I feel like I can now show up in my life as the person I actually am, not the person I've thought people wanted me to be or I've wanted myself to be. And I can just make my art, tell my story, do my thing. And it is so liberating. And that's part of what I want to share a little bit is I know a lot of people came, especially to the YouTube channel, in the context of crypto. And I got, I guess, lucky, you could say. I don't know if it always felt lucky because it was a very difficult thing for me in that time period to all of a sudden be talking to sometimes hundreds of thousands of people at a go. But I got lucky in the sense that that avenue, that channel, that connection where I could start sharing my actual personal story outside of the crazy carnival that the crypto space is a lot of the time. And I've recognized how many amazing humans have come out, shared their stories and comments. And there's something that I feel that we're coming together around, that crypto was very enticing, bright and shiny, this big opportunity to escape a system that is in a lot of ways highly oppressive to the individual. I know I felt that way when I came to crypto. It was like, finally, there is a chance. Finally, there's an opportunity for my value to be represented in the world outside of what an employer thinks of me, or even relationships think of me, or there was something there in crypto. And I'm curious, for those of you that are watching, You can just self-reflect, but you could also put in the chat, I'm curious, what originally brought you to crypto, and is it the same thing? And if you say money, which is an easy answer, I feel that money is this energetic tool. And when that is aligned with yourself and your purpose and your passion, then money is an amazing boon. If money is an escape hatch or a fairy godmother, that feels like a slippery slope. I think that's why, I don't know what the actual statistic is, but when lottery winners win millions, most of them blow it all, or they have horrible things happen to them because they're still the same people. They just have this extra money, and all the same patterns repeat. So, wow, hello from London. So the forum says, hey man, are you sure it makes sense to merge spiritual truth with material trading tips? They are two separate realms. Well, so that's the whole point here, is that I'm not here to give you trading tips. I think I've done as much as I can to show you the people that I really think are doing good work, sharing good information, not the hopium, not the hype, not the narrative that actually makes a lot of people rich by taking advantage of this desire for freedom and for wealth. I feel like I've said just about everything I can say, everything that I actually know, without pretending to know more than I do. And so I don't even see this so much. Well, maybe it's spiritual. I guess it depends on your definition of spiritual. But for me, this is about freedom. This is about personal sovereignty. This is about escaping from the trap that I know I was put in, I feel I was put in, that I had to behave a certain way, show up a certain way to be loved and validated, and those are the things that I've finally been letting go of, and has allowed me to unlock my creativity. And so, all right, I'm gonna kind of get into it. Win Lambo. Oh man, I drive around in this busted ass Jeep Wrangler. It's a 2000. Every part of it is falling apart. It rattles, it creaks. That's my Lambo, and I freaking love it. I was doing the calculations, and I think I get about 12 miles per gallon. Anyway, not a billionaire trader over here. But here's what we're working on, and we'll get into it because I think a lot more stuff will unlock. I'm not trying to like soapbox at you right out of the gate, but I'm working on this particular piece. I was in a frame shop, and I was getting some of my bigger pieces framed, and a guy was in line behind me, and he saw my art, and he said, hey, I'm a local musician, and I'd love for you to do my album art. And he came to a First Friday open house, and we talked, and then I've been doing these concept sketches. And I know my camera is upside down here. I have a little piece that's being delayed by Amazon that's gonna let me swap the camera right side up for the overhead. But these are some of the concepts that I noodled on, and I landed on this, what I call hectist guitar. And so it's just got a lot of complexity, a lot of color and movement and flow. And so in the last live stream I did a couple days ago, that was, I think, the real scary, audacious moment of when you add paint to something that you want to turn out really nice. There's this moment of just letting go and seeing what happens. This is not digital art. There are no undos. Every mark on the paper stays there until you cover it up or change it. And it becomes a really fun analogy for life. I think that the ability to show up and just welcome something like this unfolding is representative of my newfound ability to show up in my life and just allow myself to be myself, allow things to be as they are, definitely fight for the things that I believe in while going with the flow. Okay, so enough rambling, Ryan. I am going to fill these water glasses. I will be right back, and then we're gonna make some cool shit. Rock and roll. So I was just thinking on the way to the sink that I have had so much reservation to do this for so long, like multiple years. I've shown up on the Uncomplication channel time and time again, trying to give the audience what I think you guys want, which is the trading tips and Bitcoin up or down or yada yada yada, and it just became this sort of false act, and it really wore on me, and I think you guys could see it too. And I feel like this takes a bit of bravery. I definitely feel brave right now just saying, you know what? This is who I actually am. I'm an artist. I'm sensitive. I'm a philosopher. And I'm an idiot. And I don't actually know anything. I do my best to learn quickly. But at the end of the day, I am another human out there in the world trying to figure it all out. And this is my way. This is the most fertile soil for me to be putting my time, effort, and energy. And that's what I want to share with you. And if you don't like that, if that's not what you're here for, you have every right to leave. I'm not expecting anyone to stay, but I believe that the ones that do stick around, that we are on a similar wavelength, that there is some sort of connection happening here. And at the, if there's anything that I actually want from this for you, it's to just maybe be an example of the things that can happen when we stop being what we think the world wants of us and we just start being ourselves. And so I'm going to paint. I have a little plan here. I did a lot of this last time. There's 2 layers here. I guess you could call it 3 if you count the drawing of this base. I think this is called a Rebel or a Rogue, is the brand of the bass guitar he uses. So that's the first layer. Second layer was kind of a light wash of these colors. And so now I've got a thicker layer. And what I'm ultimately going for in this area is something that's more like, this is an old drawing of mine, but this is that style that I've been developing over the years. I call it hectism. There's the little thinker down at the bottom. I think it is sort of how my mind works. I'm super ADHD. I jump between things so fast, and this type of painting allows me to just be with that crazy monkey mind and get to watch it unfold. Okay, so the first part that I'm going to work on here is this lower section of the guitar. This is an area that I want to darken a little bit, and then we're going to add some of the, I'd say, foreground. This is going to be kind of organic looking. And then up in this cloud is where we're really going to get kind of crazy with this style. And heck yeah, let's watch some paint dry. That's the most exciting part. I'm just going to keep glancing up too while I'm doing other things. Has the family supported the art journey? I think it's been hard because my partner, my wife, we're kind of figuring out some new definitions for what even that means. And that's a whole nother conversation. I think we had to really understand that when we were younger and just getting together, apparently she had a lot of envy. And the things that I did kind of big and bold and audaciously made her feel insecure or small or less than. And that represented itself in our relationship. And so over time, I turned off more and more of my personality because I didn't want to affect her or upset her. And then I got to a point in my life, and I'm 42. I don't even remember how old I am. I'm 42 now. And I got to the point where I was so disconnected from my actual self, and actually the self that she was attracted to, which was kind of like the weird double whammy of it, is like I had become this thing I thought she wanted, and that really made me pretty freaking boring. And so that's that. So the family now, yeah, I think they're super supportive, but it took this moment of just saying, like, this is important to me, and this is actually more important to me than our relationship. Like, I have to get myself back before I can relate to you as another person. And she kind of did the same thing. I mean, I don't know how many of you are out there in relationships, but to be with someone long term is to go through this life cycle over and over and over. And so I think we kind of died to the younger selves that we were, and I kind of got to be reborn unapologetically saying, this is what's important to me. And yes, I'm going to go to the studio today. I'm going to prioritize that time spent with my passion. And then when I do that, I actually am way more present, way more pleasant in the other parts of my life. And there's a book that was really helpful in this whole journey. It's called The Artist's Way, written by Julia Cameron. It has helped countless numbers of creative people reclaim their creativity, and it was intense. It required that I really evaluate my life and where I was putting my energies, and even end some friendships and some relationships and some patterns of thought and some patterns of excuses that I told myself over and over were the reasons why I wasn't uh, being creative. You know, all the blame and all the, I don't know, those types of things. It was an opportunity to get into what I actually wanted and what I needed to do, what boundaries I needed to set to make it happen. So, cool. Yeah, my family, I would say, is very supportive at this point. It took that that period of rediscovery, like, hey, this is who I actually am. And I'll say, you know, I'll just kind of tease this out a little bit. Like, it is full stack. It is top to bottom. My becoming an artist is not just about painting more. It's about um, being okay with myself and what a weird person I am and how seemingly strange my desires are. And um, yeah, I think I've for a long time been really reluctant to stand for what I actually want. And I would just so easily go with what I thought other people wanted, to be loved or accepted. And in the end, it was a one-way street to everything going off the rails. How can you have self-expression if you don't have a self to express? Cool. We've got what do you think about AI as a threat to artists? I think living things can make and manifest creative energy, and matter can't do that, only imitate. Curious what I think. So that's a little bit of a shift, but yeah, let's talk about that real quick, because AI, man, it was so funny. I started painting about 2 years ago, and that was right when Midjourney started taking off. And so I was getting into my first watercolor paintings, and I was developing slowly, and then I installed Midjourney on a Discord server, and in seconds I had these amazing watercolor paintings because I was prompting it with kind of what I was trying to create. So I said, you know, like these deserty landscapes, et cetera, and just like, oh, damn, like these are beautiful. And so there's a moment where I thought, hey, maybe instead of like learning how to do these things traditionally, I should just figure out these tools. And and it was really exciting. But the thing, this is what I feel at this point. First of all, it's a tool. I remember when I was in high school and I was getting into digital video editing for the first time with Final Cut Pro, like the very first versions of Final Cut Pro. And I remember running into these older people that did video professionally, that did reel to reel, or had to, you know, have a VHS tape in one thing and a VHS tape in another. And, you know, like editing was such a slow process. And here I was, this young kid, and I could go out with my buddies with this little camcorder and make all these movies with effects and animations. And some of those older people were like, "Oh, like you're cheating. You're like not getting it. You're I don't know. I don't know what they're actually saying. I'm imagining this part, but what that digital video editing allowed was more people to have access to creativity that it used to be way more expensive and take a lot longer to do. And I think with AI, it's very similar, that if you're building a website or designing this, that, or the other, it is now a tool that, unfortunately, for the people that have made their careers as web designers and you know, filling that role, it 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 allows the means of creativity into the hands of more people. And then the question becomes, what do you do with it? Because you don't give everybody a camcorder and Final Cut Pro and have a million masterpieces. And so I think that already the newness of AI is wearing off. Like I get so bored of seeing AI images in my Instagram feed. There's one or two artists that I'll still follow because they're actually doing something new. And I think it's the same thing. Like here's another example. When the camera was invented, it freed artists from having to do realism. Because prior to that, one of the highest things you could do as an artist was to capture real life and do portraits and do still lifes on the table. And as soon as the camera came along, an artist could kind of put that energy in new places. You get Van Gogh and you get Picasso and you get modernists and all this abstract stuff. And I think AI is probably going to do the same thing. Now that you don't have to go to art school to render these images, what are people, young people, going to do and dream and create? And it's still going to be individual, and it's still going to be quality. Like there's a quality involved. Everyone is bored with AI avatars, but some of these experiences of 3D music videos and stuff, I think that's kind of the cutting edge. So my it's a long ramble, but I'm welcoming it because you can't fight it, and I actually use it as a tool. There's several paintings that I've done, and this is actually one of them. I wonder if I can flip this around. I painted this lion. And I was looking at reference photos of lions, and I didn't find anything that was really what I wanted. And all of them were like these kind of, distant telephoto. I want to go. No, that's right. These images that just weren't quite right. And I used AI to generate a lion that was my lion. And then I painted him. So, it was a tool, and it is a unique image. It is something new in the world. And the fact that I painted it on a canvas, it's like a cooperation with the AI instead of a grappling, I don't think anyone wants, well, I don't know. Maybe people do just want to buy the image that the AI made. I think there is something about a human making it. All right, let's see what we got here. So my next step in this particular painting is to do this cloud, this tangle. Yeah, AI is a great tool for getting inspiration from. That is the truth. It's sort of like a search engine that can reconfigure your search results into new concepts, and then they're great jumping off points. Some of them are great images in and of themselves. I have a whole other business that I started with Leah Perlman and some other friends, and I did all of the images with AI, and they look great. They look awesome, and I'm so stoked that I didn't have to sit there and hand paint them, because I can save that energy for this kind of painting, this kind of art. And so, let the machines do what machines do, and let humans dream and build and create. Okay, this is where we're getting into sort of like the real deal. I can feel the pressure, I guess, to have this part go really well. There's no take backs, and I'm trying to kind of create this flow that goes with this black line that I created, and all of this is going to get a layer of dark black drawing that's going to look for these different shapes and patterns. And so all I'm really doing is giving myself some guidelines, some underpainting. And I've found that if I just stick with this process, as long as what's on the paper is, I guess, compositionally interesting, I can just go with it. I can trust that future Ryan will be able to figure it out and make something of it. This part right now really is like a letting go, is the best way I can describe it. Like there's so much that I want for this painting, but I just have to start doing stuff and seeing what happens, and then adjusting and doing something different. And in the end, it's never the painting that I wanted it to be, It's just the painting that it becomes. And that's how a lot of my art has been lately, is going with the flow, not fighting for a particular result, but almost like a child, just being interested. Like, what is this paint doing? How does it run together? What does it want to be? And I know there's other artists that I know well and personally. My sweet mate who was in here for a long time. It was so funny because he's such an amazing artist. He did these beautiful oil paintings that would take him months and sometimes even longer to finish. And I would come in here and just do like sometimes 3 or 4 paintings in an evening because that's my process. Like I just love to dig in. I actually hate waiting for paint to dry. So I have multiple paintings going at once. And yeah, I don't know if part of this for me is also bucking that perfectionist in me, and the younger version of myself had this idea that I was going to create grand works of art that would live through the ages, and so there was so much pressure to get everything right. And man, I'll say that about not just my younger art, but also my life. Just this intense pressure to be the best that I could be and to never settle for anything less than perfect. And now, this is just, it's gonna be what it is. And even this live stream, like, I did a yoga class this morning and I was just thinking about it and I had all these, smart things that I wanted to say and bring up. And in the end, it's just gonna be what it is and nothing more. And can I just allow what is to be? That is the question. Cool. So I don't want to get too over painted in these areas. I'm going to just let that breathe a bit, and I'm going to come back down into this area. I'm feeling like there's a lot of red, and once I get into the next kind of the final layer, I'm gonna bring some of that purple down and just smooth this out so it's not so much like this rainbow step. What else we got? Yeah. So I'm gonna jump down here to the bottom and I'm going to stick to my plan. So the hectist, sound hole drift. Did I want to get into blue up here? Maybe at the very end. Okay, so now we're gonna do these. They're gonna be sort of like almost bushes, I think. And we're gonna go back to front. I did want to get a little bit more into this darker blue that I used a bit on the side of the guitar. So let's see what we get. So here's just a question for you based on the things that we've talked about so far. If you think about your life, where are you putting energy that is not returning? Where is there just almost like a leaky faucet that's just dripping your energy without your excitement being filled? That could be a job, that could be a relationship, that could be so many things. But this was something that I was reflecting on this morning. I was doing more artist way exercises, and it was encouraging me to be thinking about places in my life where I am either volunteering or being asked to do more than I actually have the interest or energy to do. And what I've found with art making is that I only have so much creative juice, and it's like a well. So if I overextend for the benefit of others, it is almost inevitable that I will come to a point where I am burnt out and full of resentment and I actually am not serving myself or anyone else in those relationships. And then when I actually get super selfish and focus on my art, or just my life, what do I want to do today? You know, do I want to work for someone? Do I want to work for myself? Do I want to, you know, be super productive, or do I just want to chill out and play video games, or I don't know, just be lazy in the ways that I normally would scold myself that it's not okay. And I found that the selfish path is actually more virtuous or more satisfying, more real than when I put others' needs before my own. And I have kids. There's so much that I do for my family and for my kids that I'm not like just disappearing into the night every night. But I am pretty resolute in I need to take care of myself. I need to fill my well. I need to be creative. I need to be the things that I need to be before I can help anyone else put their oxygen mask on. And so, yeah, where in your life are you maybe giving more than you're receiving? And is that actually serving you? That is my question. Okay. So, now we're going to keep letting paint dry. We're almost to the fun part. I'm actually surprised at how fast this is going, because the next step is going to be getting into the drawing. We're going to have a combination of the marker that I used in the beginning and these little brushes that I like to use, these little guys. So for this part up top, that's going to be this really flowing, organic, but ultimately more complex area. We're going to do this all with these little tiny brushes. And that's one of the parts that I really enjoy, because it's like this has all just been flow state and letting my right brain, I guess, be playful and be loose. And then with the dark ink, it's the opportunity to let the left brain be more analytic and to really call out patterns and forms and lines and shapes. And there's this interesting moment, like I'm having it right now, where I sat down here this morning and there were 2 layers, and now there's 3 or 4, and I don't know that I love them all. You know, there's some areas that I would love to do over again, particularly this area here with the red. It just feels so, like there's just so much, and it's so bright, and it just kind of dominates when I look at the screen up here. So there's these judgments that come in, and again, I'm going to be just making this analogy over and over, but I feel similarly with my life, where I will intend something. Most recently, I have very strongly intended that I want to be a full-time artist, that I don't want to go back to technology and consulting and those types of things that I've done for years and years and years, that this is how I want to make money. And I've had these starts and stops, and I'll put something out into the world, whether it's a website or social media posts or have a First Friday event, and almost immediately there's that, for me, there's this inner critic that just looks at this and is like, oh, you know, it's not as good as it could have been. And there's a part in a painting that I call, well, I mean, it's not my term, but it's the ugly phase of a painting. Like every painting goes through some form of an ugly phase where you're in between this excited optimism of the first strokes and the first ideas, and that end goal, which is maybe getting more and more fuzzy, But there's this point where, like so many times I just want to throw in the towel. I just want to stop. I'm not quite there with this. Like I feel like this process that I'm going to do will make a cool image that comes out of it. Yet there's still this sadness of letting go of everything it could have been and having to just accept what it actually is. And that particular skill has been super useful for me because I get disappointed very easily, I think, because I have high expectations and I have a lot of wants. And I think the aspect of making art like this, or even living, is to show up, to be yourself in that moment, to do your best, and then to just accept whatever comes, and then to move on, and not get hung up, not keep things in sketchbooks or unrealized, or unsaid. So many things for me go unsaid. There's so many people that I would like to connect with at a deeper level, and I just get scared, or I hold back. I hold back myself so often, and it's the same thing. It's like everything is okay right now. Yes, I want more. Yes, I want way more. But am I willing to state it, to go for it, to actually put that want in the world, and then maybe not get it the way that I want, or maybe be rejected, or maybe have someone laugh in my face, or I don't even know. But those types of brave intendings and just being with whatever it is. So I'll make it a little more concrete. I do this skate night most Wednesdays here in Fort Collins at Rollerland. It is a blast. It is so much fun. There's all these beautiful people on skates. I'm a really good skater, so I really like skating around. And pretty much every single night, it's like this this weird fish tank going around and around and around of all of these people. And some of these, there's lots of younger girls. They're so beautiful. I just want to talk to them. I just want to have fun. And I'll just go around and around and around, like thinking of something to say. Or I'll just go around and around and around in my head about the type of evening that I want to have, the type of connections I want to have. And what I found is, in the beginning, I would get done with that, and I would, I would just really analyze, like, oh, what could I have done better? What could I have said differently? Like, how did this go? Like, oh, I lost her there. And just like art, like it's every night, every moment is a sketch, is an opportunity to try something new based on what I know now. And so that in and of itself is kind of a liberating idea, because none of it is final. All of it is layers on top of layers on top of layers. And even though I didn't like this a moment ago, I am now here adding and moving and shifting, and it becomes something new. And getting hung up on any one state of this painting or of my life, or any particular failure or disappointment, it can get me looking in the wrong direction, looking backwards instead of forward. And that's another little piece of the puzzle that I'm trying to break here. All right, I'm going to do something kind of bold. I want to bring this red down just a little bit in a few spots. I think I'm actually going to start, I have this yellow kind of already being established. I'm going to drop in some yellow, and then I'm going to hit it with a little bit of red. I'm going to try and stay out of that McDonald's-y kind of ketchup and mustard mixed. But I just want this purple to kind of have something contrasting and interesting that can be. Okay, so then I want a little bit of red. We'll just see if I can kind of get into some of these areas. Yeah, cool. And then I think similarly, I'm going to bring just a little bit of the blue up into this area and just see what happens. All right. Fully ramblomatic. Again, like for me, the fear has been showing up on this YouTube channel that was crypto investors and people that I'm not going to kid myself. People were tuning in initially because they thought I was going to help them make money. And then, oh, I can only be myself. And it was incredibly scary to make the decision. And I did it a couple times and then I backpedaled. But to just be like, you know what? Like, I get it. I understand that this could have been an opportunity to be, like some of these people actually I really respect. Like, I still really respect some of the other influencers in the space who just make this work day in and day out. I just knew that that was not me. And I'm totally aware that I might lose everybody. I might lose everybody by coming out here and just being like, yo, I'm gonna paint and I'm gonna run my mouth because that's what I do anyway. And I think that that's just where I'm at in my life, is like I don't have the capacity to hold in my experience what other people think of me. I just don't care anymore. I used to care so much that it limited me from doing hardly anything and for being myself. And I think it cost me dearly. And so now it's like, hey, this is who I am, this is what I'm up to, and there is no need to stay. If you're not interested, you can move on. That is totally fine. There are so many opportunities for time and attention to be spent online, or just, I think one of the things that I said a lot, even in the crypto days, was like, go outside, like, I don't know, ride a bike. Like, what? Yeah, we're all here. We're all trying to make money. We're all trying to get free, but free for what? Like, what is the end game here? Is it just to have more? And is that really going to make us happy? And that wasn't the case for me. So I'm saying all this just to say that, like, I'm making this painting and I'm just welcoming moment to moment that I could lose it at any second, that I could ruin it, that I could make a mistake, that something could happen that I'm just totally upset about. And the same is true of this YouTube channel. Easy come, easy go. For the 180,000 people that showed up initially, and now 20,000 people unsubscribed, and now here I am, making art, and I'm fully ready to accept that I might see another 20,000 leave or another 50,000, and it doesn't fucking matter. Like, that's the part that I had to learn, and that's the part that I really want to share. Is I think all of us kind of carry some reflection of audience capture. Like, what is it that the world is telling us we need to be? I was going to spout off a bunch of examples, but maybe I'll just let that sit. Like, what is it that the world has told you need to be acceptable? And what are you actually? And are you going to keep your heart hidden? Are you going to let the world define you, or are you going to be willing to lose the falseness of the identity that you don't want anymore? That's assuming a lot. I'm assuming that there's enough of you out there who have kind of a similar experience of just finding yourself investing time in things that you don't actually believe in. Maybe that's a job, maybe that's, I don't know, a relationship that's not reciprocal. Whatever that might be for you, I hope this is an example of, like, fuck the haters, be yourself, be weird, be wild, have fun. And I think that was my last stroke. Yep, cool. So I am going to let this dry a little bit, and I am going to come back here in just a few moments with that darker ink. And that's going to be a whole new world of what this painting is going to turn into. For those of you who are just joining, or I don't know, maybe you've been following along. So this style, it kind of ends up looking something like this. Like this is a little bit lighter of an initial underpainting, but I really like to just be free and loose with the paint, and then to go in with the black and to, yeah, see what my mind sees and call out these little nuances. One of the things that I'm feeling here is maybe just because I've been like talking and not entirely focused, it's just fine. There's a lot of layers of paint here. Like I've got a lot to work with, and also there's not, like usually I like to have a few sections that are a bit more light, and we might have to lighten some of this up later with like some white paint. But that's the other cool thing, is that there's always the opportunity to shift and adjust. I'm an art teacher as well. I have high school art students, and it's a really fun opportunity to see these brilliant people want so desperately to make something impressive. And I resonate with that. Like, you know, to do something and to have someone watching, or, you know, someone next to you looking at what you're doing, and to have it not go how you want it to go can be embarrassing. It can make you want to jump out a window or crumple it up or hide it. That's very representative of myself and my life as well. I think that I always try to put forward a persona, or the illusion of competence, and I have a lot of confidence, but really under those layers of what I call dressing the set. Like if someone comes into the studio, and I still do this, like if I know someone's coming to the studio, you know, I will strategically put everything in places that just make it look really interesting. You know, I'll open up my sketchbook and leave it on the table as if I just left it there with a picture open. But that's like, it's such an energy drain, and it stems from that same desire to maybe not be perfect, but to just to show up in maybe like a competitive way. Like isn't this social media? Like everyone posts these beautiful moments of their life. No one's posting themselves ugly cry. No one really wants to see that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe people do. I've ugly cried on camera more than a couple times. So anyway, I'm just saying, like, there's this distorted lens with which we look at ourselves, and then it kind of forces us into this audience capture. Yeah, you see the fly. This studio, we're down in a basement, and there's art nights on Wednesday, so the whole room out there was full of people, and the doors were open, and all these flies come in, and it's just part of it. Sometimes I catch them. I have to be really quick, but sometimes I can grab them. Okay, you know what? I'm ready. I'm ready to go. I think, you know, there could be a little bit more drying, but sometimes I really like when the ink interacts with the wetness and kind of bleeds and blurs. And so we're just going to kind of lean into whatever's happening here. I am now going to make a decision. Here's a deciding point. So I have lots of different sizes of brushes, and this is going to really set the feeling of this painting. So when I use a bigger brush, something more like this even, it could just have this really thick kind of Asian brush script, like kanji script kind of a look. If I go to the little one, it can get really mechanical and tight, and I don't usually switch between the two. I like to just stay with a thickness and then use one brush for the rest of it. So now I'm going to make the decision here. Do I want this to be kind of a thick, wet, heavy black area, or do I want it to be a little bit more refined? And I think because of the size here, I'm definitely not going to go smallest. So we'll just do process of elimination. We're definitely not going to get into like every one of these little details could be outlined. Here's an example of that. So here's two great examples. So here is the like super detailed. Let's see if I can get a little bit more light on this sucker. I don't know how well that reads on the screen, but like there's an immense amount of detail in every little nook and cranny. And on a painting this size, like you could really get lost in the sauce. And then by contrast, here's one that is a much bigger brush. So you can kind of see like the difference in just the delicate look and feel. And as is often the case, sometimes it's just like split the difference, like what's in the middle. So this is my big, thick, and chonky. I think I'm gonna rule that out. Yeah, I think we're kind of looking at maybe these two. I don't know how interesting this is to you, but for me right now, this is like one of those kind of crossroads decisions where this will be a different painting based on this choice. And once I make the choice, that's where we're at. That's where we stick. I think also I have been doing more of the micron pen, and so I think there's going to be a mix of both. Because of this guitar, I'm going to develop a few more pieces of it using the same micron pen that I drew it with. So I don't want to go exceedingly outside of that thickness. That would look a little weird. So I think, you know what, I don't know that I've ever really used this brush very much. Let's just start there. So this will be my fallback. So now what we're going to do is I've got this acrylic ink. I've been using this more and more because it does spread really nicely, but I think I'm actually going to go back to my tried and true Speedball Super Black. So this is actually ink that you would use for printmaking, like a block print where you would carve away in sort of like a rubber eraser type material. And then this is Speedball Black ink, but I just love how dark it is. It's super, super dark, and it doesn't have too much sheen to it. Whereas, oh, but this might be dry. Yeah, I think that's out. All right, well, it's all about process of elimination. You don't always get the painting you want, but you always get the painting you need. That you need to move on. So I'm just going to put a few drops of this acrylic ink here. And we're going to try this guy. And we'll see what happens. All right. Cool. So I always think this moment is really interesting because, well, one, there's no going back, and that's kind of fun. And yeah, it's sort of like that blank slate all over again. Like there's definitely, you know, there's a lot here. And now every moment, every choice, every line is just a move forward. And there's going to be parts, I'm already preparing myself, there's going to be moments where I wish I had done nothing at all. Where I wish that I had just, you know, maybe taken an extra day and thought about it or whatever. Because I know that we're about to kind of get into like the reality of no takesies backsies. But, you know, there's only so much planning you can do. There's only so much mental preparation. And so the first shape that I see that I'm just going to start calling out is this guy right here. And this will be a good test just to kind of see where my paint is at. Cool. And I think for this, I'll probably zoom in a little bit just to give you a little bit more of the flair and the flavor of where we are at, what we are doing. And so I find with the brushes, I wouldn't say stuck, but I end up just like doing a lot of patterns. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to let these like blue things kind of be their own little idea. And I'm going to kind of hit them and highlight them and call them out. And then I will kind of go back into some of the other forms. And ultimately, I am looking for something that is a little bit more mechanical feeling. Not so much mechanical like just a little bit more, I don't know how to describe it. I don't want this to just look like flowing flowers. I want this to look like ideas. I want this to look like music. And that's, you know, if I wasn't doing the live stream, I would be listening to this musician's album. And this could probably still do that. But, you know, I just want to be inspired by what is here and kind of let it flow in a musical, dancey sort of way. So I like those things. Those things are pretty rad now. And where do I have like a similar type of, let's see if I can get this in frame. We'll do these guys next. This almost looks like fire. That's kind of cool. And one more down in here. And I am kind of blending styles, actually. There's several different types of paintings processes that I do fairly regularly. And this is going to be kind of blending them together. And if anyone asks, like, what is it? What are you painting? I don't really know. Like, I don't have here anything more than what I'm seeing and just what's happening. And I think there's kind of a discovery that happens. Cool. So I think I'm going to just kind of be bouncing back and forth between these sort of bigger brush strokes. And then I am going to get into what I call hectism. So hectism, I just call it that kind of tongue-in-cheek because cubism is a pretty well-known form of kind of modernist art with a lot of broken up geometric forms, and there's almost like a time component where you can see something that kind of evolves over time. And yeah, I think this is the part where I just shut up and I just start seeing what comes out of this pen. Let's see. So I am going to really lean into the flow. I'm going to zoom out just so I don't have to like always be worried if I'm in frame or not. And this board is a big one, so I have to turn it all the time. I'm going to put away my sketchbook. I'm just going to make a lot of space here. I'm going to kind of get lost in the sauce. Even take off the hat. All right, let's get loose. Let's allow this to become what it wants to be. And there's sort of a rhythm that just naturally develops. I find if I am going at a consistent rhythm, then the feeling of flow is also consistent. I do want to kind of lean into like some musical imagery. So I think just kind of arbitrarily, I'm going to make this almost like a a bar staff. I don't want to be too literal. I want to be more suggestive of just like music notes. But oh, I'm already feeling it. Like I had a moment earlier where I didn't know if I liked how this was going, but now as I'm just getting into it, I know that with enough time spent doing this process, it's just going to look so interesting and so cool, and that is so satisfying. I don't want to get stuck in any one place for too long because it can unbalance the drawing. And really what I'm doing is I'm just kind of seeing what's already there and I'm going with it. I was talking about this in the last stream. I think that there's a lot of power in going with the flow, and that can be hard to do sometimes. Sometimes it feels like the flow is out of control or it's taking you over a waterfall. But there's also some aspect of it that is just the vital flowing force of that essential creative power, and that there can be a lot of judgment. There can be a lot of, I don't want this, or I think I really want this. But this style of art to me is very much a discovery and a going with the flow, as opposed to laying it on too thick with any of my intentions. Like there's definitely intentions here, but those intentions are more to make art. My intention is to just spend time moving a brush on the page, and that in and of itself becomes kind of the unlocker for what I'm going to discover that I never could have imagined or dreamed or intended or sketched. Maybe it would come in a fleeting image in a meditation or something, but those are so hard to capture. And so instead, it's just this kind of playful dance. I know that I want to have the little dots on the fretboard, and I want those to kind of be wafting up into this whole complexity. So if I count here, 1, 2, so here's my first dot, and I want them to kind of be not circles, but like it's just suggestive of a dot. And then so we got 1, 2, 3, and then we skip 2. Oh, we have 4. 1, 2, 3. But that's cool because this one is on like a little gap. And then we skip 2, doot, doot, and we've got our 12th fret. And we skip 2 again, doot, 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 doot. Okay, that's enough. I just want to do a little bit of tie-in, especially like down here in the 12th fret. I'm going to kind of have this sort of waft up and in as well. I want the feeling or the impression that all of this music is just like exploding and floating out of this guitar. Let's see if I can bring this line back. This is kind of an important line. You can let it disappear behind some things, but I do want it to be what ties us into this sound hole. Oh, another painter's here. Welcome. I just looked up at the chat. I've been kind of lost in my own world here. Angel Rivas, what kind of painting do you do? And how long have you been painting? How does it fit into your life's practice? So right now, what I am sitting with is just this kind of like, it's almost a melancholy recognition that the dreams that I have in my head for myself are often overthought. And that something like this live stream where, you know, it has taken a lot of courage to just, I mean, the live stream in and of itself is such a weird experience. If you've never done it before, it's almost like worth trying just to see what it feels like to be broadcasting your thoughts and to not be able to hide. You know, I could have done this here in my room today, totally alone, which is what, you know, how I've been making art for a long time now. But there's something about just the willingness to bring other people in, and also the willingness to allow people to be themselves and to like what they like and tune out if they're not interested. Like, that's kind of the theme of this video, I guess, and it's just because it's on my mind because I'm doing this, and part of me is like, oh, you know, I could just come on here and I could interview Mayfair again, and I could look at TA tips, and that's, I think, a lot more people. The story is, for me, you know, more people would benefit from that. More people would enjoy that. More people would love me for that. You know, the comments or the views or all those metrics that get pushed to me to show me whether I'm doing a good job or not. Like, I am choosing to do something that is not a good job. You know, I am breaking the rules by not understanding what my audience wants. And instead, I am leaning super heavy into what I want, what I am doing, what I am excited about. And the feeling is completely different. When I would do crypto videos, even my best videos, like even the ones that I'd watch and be like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe that I like said that. That sounded pretty smart. Even the best ones, I would have this period of dread, just absolute dread that I had said the right thing, or that I was, the one that I had a lot was just a fear for my safety. Like, I would realize to myself, like, I am coming on YouTube and I am throwing rocks at billionaires. You know, the crypto space is not the basement nerds building a technology to save the world. It is another investment instrument that has been institutionalized, and all of the on-ramps that are now here for us that have been put there by companies that are investor-backed and looking for returns and yada, yada, yada. Like, there's powerful interests at play. And I was just so mad that this space that to me felt so beautiful and full of potential and freedom, and the cool people that I was meeting that were working on cool projects to solve, you know, the unbanked in Africa, and there was so much about the crypto space that just spoke to my human core that I would get really angry, and a lot of my YouTubing, I guess, was fueled by that anger, just that outrage of feeling duped. But that, I mean, I don't know. For me, that is not a space that I want to habitually be in. To just be upset all the time, or to be feeling like it was my responsibility to point out, how the games are run. I think I did that. I think I said everything that I could say, and then when I got truly and utterly not just bored, but like lost, that my own passions for the freedom that crypto seemed to present, like I was wasting my energy and my life. Yeah, earlier, if you were on the stream, I was talking about like where in my life have I found these energy sinks where I'm putting energy in and I'm not getting the energy back in the same level. Where am I working too hard? Where am I overtaxing myself? And that, for me personally, in the crypto verse, it was just an abusive relationship. And it felt shitty. And I would do those videos and I would have 2 or 3 days of just being so stuck in what I had just said or what I had just done or comments, or it is true that you could have 300 people and 299 can say that they love you, and one can point out something that you're actually so self-conscious about, and it can feel so true. And those comments and things, they would stay with me. And all of this is just to say that, like, this showing up on YouTube to paint and talk, and it can go any which way, like I'm going to keep doing this, and people will tune in or tune out or subscribe or unsubscribe. That is something that I have now fully accepted, that I am not interested in being anything other than myself. And this is who I am right now. And I have all kinds of judgments about that. There's parts of myself that annoy me. Sometimes I'm like, God, am I still talking? Why don't I just shut the hell up? Does anyone actually, like, get over yourself, Ryan? Like you either give people what they want or you don't. And that voice is also just old. I'm tired of it. I'm done with it. I need to look up what a treble clef looks like. Treble clef. Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna do like a big old treble clef, like maybe right here. Where am I already kind of seeing one? Yeah, I'm gonna put it right here. This is gonna be sweet looking. All right. I'm gonna have it kind of come off of this. Yeah, we'll let this be the body of it. So down here. Okay, where am I going? Right here. Okay. Boop. Sick. Cool. All right. So now we'll kind of accentuate that. I'm gonna look up just like musical notation. I don't actually know how to read sheet music. I just want to see if there's like a bunch of cool musical symbols that I can put in here. Whoa. Yeah, stuff like this, I guess. Another cool thing about a live stream, sort of, another interesting thing about a live stream is that when I would do a video, it was it itself was a production. So it had a beginning, it had an intro, it had an outro, and I would record one and I would rewatch it and I would edit it sometimes 3, 4, 5 times, edit, re-edit. Sometimes I would just not be happy with it and I'd completely scrap it and reshoot it. Sometimes I would record something and it would sit on my computer just in an open window for days and days and days, and I would come back to it. And sometimes I would repost it. Most of the time I didn't. I think that in my crypto YouTube career, I probably posted a third or less of the content I actually created. And that also took a toll on my ability to just stay in flow and to go into the other parts of my life, because it was really hard. There was a lot that I needed to do, it felt like. And to be stuck to a particular video clip and waste the time of like, an hour of recording, watching, and editing, and then to not use it, and to, I'm sure I could have used it. I think if I was more confident, or if I had, some of these lessons that I've learned now about just like not caring so much about what people think. My own inner critic probably could have quieted down a little bit. But the interesting thing about the live stream is I know that there are probably really cool things that I said in the beginning that if anyone tunes in now, they're never going to hear. And I know that every moment is kind of its own little moment, and that is actually kind of liberating, because I don't have to have a script and I don't have to say anything super important. This is just me here being me, and I don't know if that's interesting or not. I guess we'll find out if if everyone deserts the channel and it goes to 0 subscribers, then it will be kind of a cool lesson learned, an interesting part of my life where I chose myself over any perceived benefit of having an audience or getting that approval. That's kind of more the term. Like, I would not give myself approval because I was too bound up in what I thought other people wanted from me. And now with something like this, there's just like this painting. There's nothing I can really do wrong, because ultimately I'm just showing up and being me and making marks and saying words. And sometimes I make a great mark, and sometimes I say something really smart, and other times I'm just rambling, and it all is just what this adds up to be. And I don't know if you've been tuned in long enough to remember when I was talking about this experience that I've been having a lot lately of not reevaluating my day-to-day performance, particularly with like relationships or things that I want that I'm not asking for, or gosh, I wish that situation would have gone better, or oh, I wish I would have said this, or that's like a pattern that I can get into pretty easily. And I think with this type of a live stream and this type of just like showing up and doing the thing and then turning it off and moving on to the next thing, there's like such a liberty there that it's not a performance. There's not a right or wrong way. There's just a person being themselves. And I don't know if that's enough for you, but it sure as hell is enough for me. That this just feels so good right now to be watching this drawing unfold and to be sharing that process. Even if nobody sees it, like I've at least put myself out there. And I've kind of unapologetically stated what I stand for, which is art, and it is freedom, and it is self-knowing, and it is growth, and knowing full well that that might sound hippy-dippy or new agey or woo-woo or whatever. Those are the things that have allowed me to show up as myself moment to moment to moment, and I can just feel my life in a new and better way. Yeah. Let's get some more little music characters in here. I always go for kind of the like Bugs Bunny Looney Tune. I always remember the drunk piano note that was like wandering around the piano, getting lost and chased, and yeah. It's interesting. I started with that big brush and I almost immediately turned to this pen. And I think it is probably because that's just where I started down here. And so it kind of fits the vibe. I think when I got into that brush pen, it was almost a little too organic for the feeling that I want to create here. I want to create something that's a little bit more like thought than like growth. Down here is going to be a lot more growth. But this, I kind of just want it to look like, if you're listening to music and you're zoning out, what images, what rhythms, or yeah. Let that overlap a little bit. I'm really liking this part down here. This is feeling very satisfying. Don't want to get too close to the little Timothy Osbad logo. Now it's people who like you, not just some content. Yeah, totally. Totally. That's exactly it. It's like once you show up in the world as yourself, like you might lose a bunch of friends, but the ones that you still have are your real friends. I actually went so far, and I have some feelings as I say this, but there was a point where I chose to not necessarily cut ties, but definitely cut back energy investments with friends from my past who saw me in a certain way that kept me acting as a caricature of what I've always been with them. And yeah, and it's like, ugh, if that's the character that I need to play in that situation, is that really worth the time and energy? And I kind of decided in a few relationships the answer was no. And some of those relationships have actually come back in new and better ways. I think it's hard when you tell someone like, I don't have the energy to be your friend right now in the same way that I have been. I could see that if I were told that, I could see that being like, oh, okay, well, what's wrong with me? But I don't know that it's necessarily that there are people that are good or bad, or I think there's just a willingness to risk um, to risk a trivial friendship for a real friendship. And I love that comment. Pop Inoyu, Pop Inoyu, because that's exactly it. Like, I am at a point where I would rather have, I mean, pick a number, you know, I'll pick what sounds like a high number. You know, I'd rather have 1,000 fans that just love me for my quirks, love me for my weirdness, love me for my, you know, just what would I say when I'm not filtering my content based on what I think you want to hear. I would rather have 1,000 people like that than 180,000 people to whom the relationship is a take without a give. And there's a lot of people who came on this channel in the early days and just gave so much gratitude and so much love, and so again, it's not that there's anything wrong with any people. It's me knowing where my energy is, and it is. I know when I get done with even a social interaction with people that I don't really want to be around. Let's just say people that maybe for them, like, no judgment, but for them it's like drinking and telling old stories, or I don't know, like, that's all great. But if at the end of that I just feel like, ugh, you know, like I'm hungover, I was hiding behind this kind of caricature, that's the type of experience that I'm keen to understand and appreciate and move on from. And so that's what I'm kind of doing here, is like, I hope you dig my art. I hope a lot of you buy my art. I have a lot of paintings that are for sale. I'm working on a funnel. I've been doing the Artist Freedom Hub with Lloyd Conan. I don't quite know how to say his last name. So like I'm kind of gearing up to do a bigger push for my art business being my only business. And this kind of feels like part of it, is like, if I show up here and, you know, Tuesdays and Thursdays is kind of what I'm thinking. If I show up here and just whatever art I'm making, like this is an album cover for a local musician, and if I just hang out here and, you know, do my thing, great. And there will be some people that just jump ship and maybe even throw a nasty comment on the way out the door that's like, win Lambo. Someone said that jokingly earlier, but like, that's the cost of doing business. That's the cost of being yourself. And I am stoked. I am so excited for how this is turning out. This just is like so satisfying to watch this go from the first couple layers to the paint layer. And now we're getting into this. Let me zoom in, because I think, let's see if I can zoom in. Oop, where are we? Yeah, like there's just so much detail that and color, and just the way that it all moves together. It's really satisfying to make, and I have to assume that if it's this satisfying to make, it's probably really satisfying to look at. I don't know. I'm gonna go over to this window real fast and see if oh, cool. Oh, there's another question that I missed. This person might have already moved on. But the question is, did I get out of crypto completely? And the answer to that is no. I still hold crypto, and I still am excited about crypto in my life as a place to put money and to see it grow. I think that there are some real cool benefits of crypto. But I do not think that it is the place to be fixated at the expense of other opportunities and interests. And I think there's a real, for me, what I've witnessed and what I've experienced, there's this there's this fallacy. It's almost like giving your power away. I feel like with crypto, because I was so excited that it was going to free me from having to go back to work in the same ways that I used to, or yeah, that it was going to be like a shortcut off the treadmill. I invested a lot of time. It wasn't just the money investment. Like that was relatively easier. The investment was just the emotional damage. I can hear my kids say emotional damage. Of, for example, like having an active trade and just like babysitting it and having it follow me around as I'm walking my dog. And, I don't think many people have this particular experience, but having the YouTube channel, when I would post something, that would just follow me around like a cloud over my head for days. And I even had a rule for a while that I wouldn't look at any comments for at least 24 hours. Like I just couldn't handle it. Like I just had to like post it and move on and forget that I even did it. And then it was kind of nice maybe a couple days later to come back and be like, oh, people actually said nice things. I didn't fumble and drop the ball or say something stupid and have people call me out. Anyway, so no, I did not get completely out of crypto, but I would say the attention that I pay to it is like a fraction of what it used to be. And when I'm interested in crypto, which is, a couple, maybe I wouldn't say once a day. It's like every other day. I'm just like, and sometimes it's a little bit longer than that, but like I will regularly check and see like what's the latest, what's going on, what do certain people think. And I had Lewis Daniels on the channel a couple weeks ago, months ago. I don't even know how long it's been anymore. And that's the only Discord community that I care to follow. And they've not been right 100% of the time. That's not the point. The point for me is like, where are there people that are looking at this from a place of experience and understanding, like a fundamental understanding that what we're looking at is not the birth of a new financial currency for planet Earth. Like that's what I thought it was. That's what I wanted it to be. That was the kind of arresting narrative. But now it's people who understand the Wyckoff and the Elliott waves and the cyclical nature of these markets and how it's actually driven. And so when I check out crypto, the first thing I do is I go over to Mayfair's Discord, and I'll just kind of creep around. I rarely comment, I rarely contribute, but I'll go in there and just kind of see what the latest is, see what people are saying, and that will be good for me. Like that will get my fix for the next however many weeks until, I don't know, until I get a curiosity pang. One of the things that is hard for me is I feel like because I know what I know, which could be right, wrong, or other, but because of the biases and the beliefs that I hold, it's really hard for me these days to engage in crypto conversations. I was actually last night with a kind of a newer friend, super cool guy. He exited from Coinbase. He was an employee. He had employee stock options, and so he sold and got off the ride right around the time of the IPO in 2021. And so he's just kind of living the life and hanging out, and we like do VR together and some other things. But he brought up, I think last night, just briefly, like something about like crypto, like what is it going to do or something. And I just like immediately contract. Because where I'm at these days is like, for people that like crypto, which is fine. Like there's a lot of people who like crypto. It's not really worth my energy or my emotional investment to educate. Like when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And I think that kind of happened in 2021 when we all got together. And I was a student myself. I don't have like a 30-year track record of investing in different instruments, and I was new to the space. I was learning as much as I could. I was suddenly looked at as an expert, and having all these opinions and whatever. Um, yeah, now I don't feel invested in the conversation itself to the extent I used to be. I used to be so pissed off. I wanted to just like have people know, like, hey, the narrative you're getting from CoinDesk and such and such and influencer X, or even these people that seem to be trustworthy, knowledgeable investment types, like they've all got an agenda. They've all got money that they're trying to make, and that money is your money. But I don't even feel the need to have those conversations anymore. I was out at a kava bar a couple months ago, and there were some of my friends were there, and I met some new guys, and there's a lot of just talk, a lot of rabble, a lot of discontent. Like I could just feel it, I could just hear it. But the externalization of everything had me a little disheartened. I think what I'm more interested in talking about now is not like, hey, the market's rigged, and the Wyckoff cycles, et cetera, et cetera. It's more like, hey, we get what we deserve, and we get to decide what we deserve, and our decisions of what we deserve is based entirely on our beliefs of our own self-worth. And I think even in crypto, the aftermath of something like a collapse on the run up to the moon, or whatever the narrative was in 2021, was like a lot of people that were left disillusioned. I remember in the crypto garden, there were people that would join, and I'd have these little DM conversations. They'd message me and they'd be like, hey, I just lost $300,000 and I don't know how to tell my partner. And I have kids that are, going to college, and, I use some of that college savings, and it was just like this absolute train wreck nightmare. And where am I getting with this? Like, I think on some level, the way I feel now is that we're only making those investments in crypto, those ones that we can't afford to lose, when our own self deserving is set to a level that is lower than what it might be. And what I mean by that is, like, again, the lottery winners that lose all their money in the first couple years, like the statistic is, I don't know what the specific statistic is, but a percentage of people that have these windfalls of capital, they still end up repeating the same kind of self-fulfilling prophecies. This is even true of celebrities. Like, there's so many musicians and recording artists, rappers, and even NFL players. There's another statistic. I think, like, again, I don't remember the specific statistic, but some large, like surprisingly large percentage of NFL players go bankrupt, or lose vast amounts of their money within a couple years of retiring or leaving the league. So, like, yeah, that's where I'm more interested right now. I'm in this program with she's been on the channel a couple times. She's actually really helpful in kind of an earlier version of myself trying to figure shit out. But Leandra, you can check out the video I did with her. I'm in a program with her that she's leading that is focused on this reprogramming and rewiring what it is that I am willing to want, and rewiring what it is that I am believing I'm worth, and how those beliefs have and continue, but are doing so less and less as I actually focus on them. But they they kind of set up the situations that we create for ourselves. And so if you decide that rich people suck and that it's cool to be not a rich person, like you might build yourself this artificial limiter where when opportunities do come up, they're said no to. I mean, I know that was me, like hardcore, especially with regard to the YouTube influencer space. Like, on some level, I didn't feel deserving of what was being offered, and I was doing a lot of rebuilding personally of my own self-worth and value that I said no to a lot. And I can't really say that any of those decisions were good, bad, or otherwise, because I'm really, really happy that I'm here. And I don't know that I would be exactly here if I had, I don't know, gone all in on some of the collaborations or opportunities or things that kind of presented themselves. Yeah, but I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that I think in the crypto space, we get to see pretty clearly a world of people that have been diminished, that have been put in a system that is really anti-human. And there's this intense desire to break out of it. And when and if people do, when and if someone gets a trade that goes their way, and I've heard stories. I can't say that I necessarily have direct relationships with all of these types of people, but one of my really close friends from high school knows this other guy who was a big Bitcoiner, and early on just made millions, but like their life sounds terrible. Because all those millions didn't actually solve what was kind of like the underlying issue. And that issue, I think, is self-love. The willingness to unapologetically be who we are and stand for what we believe. And it's like if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for everything. And Bitcoin and even money in general, I think, is a place where the appeal can kind of cost you, or the price of admission is higher than the payout. Well, let's see what we got here. The Wyckoff video is at 999,000 views, though. It's quite annoying. Oh, like it's right on the edge of 1 million? You know what's funny is, again, like in this whole vein, when I did that video, I was so pissed off. I was so pissed off at the industry, and I just felt like my heart had been broken by like the last... I don't know. Some of you know this, but I had a company that I started in 2011 that I worked my fucking ass off at and believed in so much because it was such a beautiful, amazing team and concept, and we were doing good in the world and like tangibly good in the world. Like we raised, by the end, it was like $500 million online for nonprofits and education and startups and artists, and it was this beautiful, beautiful thing, and it all fell apart. The company got sold, I got fired. It's it's still out there in some form or another, but that was the state that I was coming into the whole crypto verse in. And when I posted that video, like I felt betrayed with the whole situation with my company. Like by the universe. I felt just like, oh, this is what you get for trying this hard, this long. And then when the crypto thing happened and Wyckoff was made painfully apparent, Yeah, I just wanted nothing to do with it. So even though that video has 999,000 views, um, I never turned on. I think even to this day, like I never turned on the ads. I have ads on these videos now just because I figure as long as I'm doing my thing, like it doesn't seem like it's outside of this scope. But it was like, ugh, this Bitcoin thing. I'm so upset. I feel like everyone needs to know, like I'm blowing the whistle or whatever, and I'm not going to take any money from that system. I'm not going to take any ad dollars. I'm not going to have people advertising their shitty crypto whatever thing on the YouTube ads. And so that just kind of, yeah, it's out there as this moment in time. But I guess the benefit of it, yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of people are now at least aware that the crypto market is a market and not just like this magical wish granting genie. And so I think I did have some effect, but the effect on me was, I don't know, it was hard. So let's see. John Flybring. Sorry I'm doing late. Tuning in from the UK. Been loving every one of your videos. Man, so refreshing compared to anything else in the crypto space. Peace from a fellow creative. Heck yeah. See, that's what I kind of feel. Is like we're all hanging out. We put out a certain vibration, and I think that the one that I want to put out is one of creativity and encouragement. Just like mutual excitement that regardless of the state of the world, regardless of the manipulators and the haters and whatever else, there is a way that we can unlock and revel in our own creative power. And it doesn't even have to be great. I actually teach art at a high school currently, and I tell my kids all the time, you don't have to be good to be great. You can skip right to the top of that ladder and just be great right out of the gate. And all it takes to be great is showing up and unapologetically doing your thing. So I love seeing Johan, more likely, yeah, that you're here and that you're a creative and that you, I mean, if you want to put in the comments what kind of art you make, or it doesn't even have to be art. Like I think living itself is an art, and appreciating the beauty around us is an art. And it's really hard to do that when we're bought into other people's priorities for us. You know, are you a consumer or are you a creator? And not putting judgment on the consumers, but as a creator, my life has more color, it has more connections, it is radically more worth living to me than a life of just passive victimhood. And so, yeah, this creative impulse, it brought me back from the brink because I got to remember who I am. And I've always been creative. I've always looked at something and said, how could this be something new? And I've always been in trouble for it. I've always been, on behavior contracts. I was thinking about this earlier. Like when I was, I don't know, 5, 6 years old, the schools that I was in judged my behavior such that I had to sign contracts to say that I would behave a certain way that was acceptable. And my wild creative energy was not tolerated, was not wanted, was not rewarded. It was actually punished. And all of that energy is exactly the energy that I am using right now to noodle through this drawing and to go into the world as like a person that I am stoked to be. And I can't think of anything more worthwhile than nurturing that creative side of ourselves, because it breaks us from having to rely on someone else's story of who we are or what the world is about. Every single one of us has the power, and we're doing it anyway, to to decide what we believe, what we stand for, what we want. And I think the creative practice is a waking up to the child that we still have inside. That sees the bullshit. Children are bullshit detectors. Like they know when someone is insincere. They know when they're being put on. And I think as we grow, there's so many games that we have to play just to be fed, just to be safe, just to be accepted or loved or part of a community or whatever, that we let our bullshit detector drop. And I think since I've reawoken to my own creative spirit, like my bullshit detector is back, you know? Like I can see where my time and energy is being asked for that is out of alignment with my actual self, my actual desires. And that's what I'm doing here today. And that's what I'm going to continue to do for at least the next foreseeable future. I've got all these commissions that I'm working on. I think another thing that I'm going to do that will probably be even, I don't know, I think it'll be pretty interesting, but I'm going to do paintings that, we're just going to kind of co-create something together. I might not know what it's going to be when we start, kind of with the chat and just collaboratively, like, let's make something cool and then give you guys the opportunity to buy it, to buy the original, to buy prints. I think that could be a really fun way to go from just this basement creative here in this little art studio to creating with a community of creators. That excites me. And even if there are fewer people in the room, I have a lot of faith that those will end up being the people that I'm really excited to share energy with. Anyone who expects from me something that I'm unwilling to give is not anybody that I want to have anything to do with. And I think it's funny, I guess I'm a little proud of this. Like, I've never, as far as I can remember, I don't think I've ever said, like, hit the subscribe button. I've never said that. But now in this moment, I will say, hit the unsubscribe button. If what I am providing by being myself is not what you want, there's no hard feelings. There's no judgment there. I know that I am not going to be everybody's cuppa. So that is the invitation. I am fully excited and prepared to see the metric, which is about 500 people a month unsubscribe anyway, like whether I'm posting or not. And then when I post a video, I've noticed this effect as well, that the more excited I am about the video, the more people seem to unsubscribe. And that used to really bug me, and that's why I would not post for like months and months and months. I'd just like say my one thing and then just be kind of content. And let's see, are you still invested in crypto and involved in the Crypto Garden project? Yes, I'm still invested in crypto. I was talking about that a little bit earlier. As for the Crypto Garden, I think that was such a time and a place, and so many amazing humans showed up there, and we had our moment together. And I can take a lot of responsibility for that community not lasting. It goes hand in hand with a lot of what I've been saying. If you've been tuned in long enough, I was performing a role and an act that wasn't actually in alignment with my highest excitement. It might have started there and very sincerely, like with some of my friends that we were really into crypto and just like starting a crypto community. It was really exciting, and a lot of great teachers and people that just had a lot of wisdom to share showed up. But I think it just got to a point where I was having to force myself to create value. I couldn't just show up and have that excitement. So no, the Crypto Garden, I mean, the Discord is still open. I think it's now a free server. And every once in a while, I'll get a little notice that someone has posted. And usually it's just like, is anybody here? Did the community dry up? And yeah, I can say that I am sincerely grateful for everyone that showed up there and brought some part of themselves. I'm thinking about like really specific individuals right now. And I'm also, I am sorry. I am sorry that I just couldn't carry it and stay in alignment with my actual self, and that it was kind of holding me back from the work that I've since done to be able to make my living now, making art, which is a lifelong dream, and it's something that I just have tremendous passion for. And yes, this will be an album cover. So this is for a local musician. I was in a frame store picking up one of my pieces that was getting framed, and he saw my paintings and really liked them, and came to a First Friday where it's like an open house at my studio. And we kind of negotiated doing, I think now it's going to be a series of record covers, because I did multiple sketches. Yeah, so these are some of the different concepts that, this is the one that I'm actually doing, but obviously much bigger, much more exciting, and this is just kind of the sketch. And then, yeah, this kind of like heart machine. His logo for his band is this little peace sign with the devil horns. So that is integrated throughout. So yeah, this is going to be an album cover for Timothy Osbad, who is on Spotify. You can find his music there. And normally I would be listening to the music. I did my sketches while listening to his albums, so that it gave me the inspiration. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of commissions lately, which has been really satisfying. It's fun to kind of co-create something with the recipient. Thank you, Johnny G. Really appreciate what you do. You've made me think differently about my priorities and give me a new and better perspective on things. Wishing me all the best. I wish you all the best, sincerely. I'm gonna go to the Ryan cam. I have this cool little switcher here, but yeah, I am so thrilled and excited to read comments of people that are creatives themselves, or in the same stage of life, maybe even, I don't know, like the deep questioning of what is it that actually is my highest excitement, and where is my energy being taken, or where am I putting energy that is not that is not in alignment with that spirit that is just here. I know that sounds woo-woo or whatever, but like, I know when I'm excited and I know when I'm not excited. And if I find myself waking up day after day being not excited, then like that is a huge wake-up call. And yeah, so Johnny G, thank you for being here. Thank you for being kind of the other side of the equation. I've sort of resolved that if I show up here and just kind of ramble and do my work and talk about painting, and there's some parts of this earlier where I think I actually even have a little picture-in-picture mode here. This might be the jam. Yeah, cool. So I'm up in the corner now. Yesterday or 2 days ago when I started this painting, like there was such this intense initial moment where it was just the drawing of the guitar, and to hit it with those first layers of color, like it's scary, and it was fun to share that moment and to kind of talk through, all the analogies that has with life as well. That we want to make our art, or we want to live our life, we want to be proud of ourselves, or show up in a certain way for the people that we care about. And at some point, there's just a moment where you either do or you don't. And once you start doing, it's like that same question, that same process over and over again. Like what's here and what am I doing next? And can I just accept every little mark on the page, every little moment, every little word of my life, and see how this is just an unfolding, and there's no judgment. You know, the judgment can come later. You know, at some point I'm going to show this to the client, and you know, there could be feedback. You know, I could really do some things that mess up the composition, or maybe the colors. Maybe I went too heavy into one color. Like, you know, all those judgments can come later. But right now, I just feel alive. I feel like I'm in it. I feel like I'm present, and that is a feeling that is worth talking about. And that can come from a lot of different places, I'm sure. Like, I don't fault anybody for still being excited about crypto. Like, I think that's a place that does bring a lot of life. There's actually, this is fun to talk about. There's a book that's out right now that has, at least in my circles, like a lot of people have been talking about it. It's called Existential Kink. Existential Kink. And the author of it, I listened to the audiobook, and she's got just like this really sexy voice, and it's like, it's almost like sexualized this process of like therapy, or I don't even know. Anyway, but like her whole thing is that if you make a list of things in your life that you don't like, situations that come up, or patterns of behavior, or things that you just don't like, if you make a list of that, and then you actually sit there and you ask yourself the question, what about these experiences, this list of things I don't like, where do I get a payout? What is it about some of these experiences that I actually deeply love, that I'm so turned on by? And it is kind of a funny thing, and I think this might be the case with crypto. Like, I've met and I've talked to a lot of people that just have like almost a frenzied, chaotic relationship of like ups and downs and excitement, and yeah, like that roller coaster of emotions. And I think I got off that roller coaster because it was just a distraction. But like, there's something about it that is really alive. And how else would we feel those feelings? You know, like, a lot of the time I think we are chasing an experience of life. This is, I think, a Joseph Campbell saying. He says, I don't think that what we're looking for is a meaning of life. I think what we're really after is an experience of being alive. And in a lot of these situations that seem on the surface to be bad or negative or things we don't want, they're actually things that our subconscious might be creating for us over and over and over, just so that we can feel. And the experience in our bodies of fear and excitement is the same physiologically. You know, the elevated heart rate and the sweaty palms and the, you know, all of the signs that you're excited are the same triggered feelings of when we're afraid. And another one of these that is just fun to think about is like anger. I think that there was a period in my life where I felt guilty for having anger. That anger was not something that a nice, good person or a parent or whatever should have. And Existential Kink, certainly, and a lot of other experiences, and a men's group that I was a part of, where I actually got to just like feel my anger fully at a certain point, and I was like just rage punching this couch cushion and just screaming the F word as loud as I possibly could. My voice was sore for 3 days afterwards. But my point is, like, with crypto, with art, with anything else, it is our subconscious or conscious taking care of us, of giving us what we actually deeply desire. And one of the cool things about the existential kink idea is like, once you know that, then it doesn't have to be this like war with an external world. It could be like, oh, I see how I'm losing my car keys again because I actually really like having an adventure and I like having a problem to solve. And it's way more fun to get back to the airport and not have my keys and have to call up a locksmith and figure out a way to get into my car. And like, you know, normally I would just be like, oh, this fucking sucks and blah, blah. But with this kind of existential kink lens, it's like, oh, here I go again doing this to myself. Here's another one. Like I always just seem to let my license plates expire, and it's annoying. And I can't drive certain cars. I have two cars. I have this old ass Jeep Wrangler and this old ass Impreza, and it's always like one or the other is drivable, but the other is not. And I think right now on my Subaru, the license plates are almost a year expired. And there's other reasons for that, but the end outcome is that when I drive around, I feel like a wanted criminal. You know, I don't drive it often, but if and when I need to take that car out and it's got, you know, November 2023 license plates, and at every intersection, you know, driving down the road, I'm looking in my rearview mirror. I'm like looking for the cops. If I see a cop, my heart jumps into my throat. Like before existential kink and that whole idea, I was like, man, I am an idiot. Like I can't take care of my adulting and whatever. Like a lot of self-judgment and just like, this is a crappy situation. I don't like it. And now I just see like, oh, I keep creating this because my life on some level, it's so boring that my act of civil disobedience of letting my license plates expire and then having to drive around like, you know, like I'm getting away with something. I don't know. So it's a fun little exercise to just ask yourself like, what in your life keeps happening that seems to be a problem or seems to be bad luck or whatever you want to call it, might actually just be our deeper self giving us these like, ooh, wow, that's a big one. That's a big feeling. And I think a lot of people come to abusive relationships and cryptocurrency wanting that payoff. So let's see. All right, I'm getting to the point now where more is not always more. And I am going to kind of wind down here. One of the questions that's kind of fun for me is the question of like, when do you stop? Again, that could be, when do you stop making art? When do you stop the painting? When is the last stroke? It could also be like, when do you actually end that relationship that isn't serving you? Or when is the last time you'll ever go to that spot that you really used to love but isn't maybe what it used to be? Or I don't know, this idea of unexpected lasts. I am kind of winding down here. I know that there's a few more strokes that I'm gonna kind of fill in here, but not much. I wanna kind of keep this balanced. Yeah, when do you end? I think for me, it just sort of happens. It just kind of is something you can't anticipate or know when that last stroke happens. But then something will call my attention elsewhere. Like I'm aware right now that I've been streaming now for I don't even know how many hours, and I know that I have to transition into family time, and I've got a piano that's going to get tuned this afternoon, so I have to be there for the piano tuner. So at some point it's just going to be like, you know what, the final thing has been said and time to move on. I think that was it. I think that was the last stroke. There'll probably be another layer on this painting. I'm gonna turn it around because I know my camera is upside down. There will be another layer on this painting, I'm sure, but we're getting pretty close. I'll probably come back in with a gouache, which is like an opaque watercolor, and I'll mix into some of these colors, maybe like a lighter purple and a lighter red and some orange, and I'll start to kind of bring some highlights into here so it's not so much just this dark blob. And I think down here, I will probably do something to make the guitar body stand out a bit more. I might go in and add just a little bit more drawing to kind of bring this swoop up into the guitar that then kind of comes out through this top part. So it's not done, but the stream is done. Yeah, thank you everyone for showing up and being yourself, and I'm going to close this one out. All right, y'all, until next time, cheers.